Thank you everyone for coming. I'm just going to give myself like a brief introduction because I'm not sure some of you guys will come across me at points across the social media journey. I've been in fashion for 23 years now. I started very young, so my mum was a dressmaker, so I got second-hand information and knowledge from her, and then I really took it seriously around age 18, where I pretty much just got bored. And I got bored of doing graphics and art. I was really good at that, and I think the career that I was going on was to be an artist or an architect or something like that. So I just remember asking Mum to show me what she was doing, and very quickly I just kind of fell in love with the whole process. I'm quite intense in that way. I either like something or I don't. So I guess pretty much within 6 months, I was very focused in terms of the trajectory for my career. I already started doing, I think the foundation at the time, the foundation would be at the Campbell College of Arts. But then I'd started taking on clients, which was probably a bit too early in my career. But I think that's what you get from being overconfident. You kind of leap ahead and then you work your way backwards. So that's pretty much what I did. I didn't really enjoy my degree. I found it to be a waste of time. I felt that because my particular degree was the first of its kind at the College of Fashion, that they didn't really structure the content particularly well. So from a customer point of view, I don't think I got value for money. So instead of quitting the degree, I remember speaking to my mum, crying on the phone to her, and telling her that I wanted to quit, but I couldn't tell an African parent that would quit a degree they don't want to do in the first place. So I just kind of gritted my teeth and went all the way through it. And I was fortunate enough that just after graduating, I got quite a large contract and this was a business I set up. And I designed my product and selling it initially to them. They would also sell on their website. So at the time, I was probably one of the first labels to start selling on ASOS's website, first independent labels. And that went on for about 3 to 4 years. We lost the company in 2009. And then I took on various roles as a technician at Alexander McQueen and Kanye West, Adidas, Tory Beckham, Rolling Ray, and a number of other places. And I pretty much used the money that they were paying me to start the business again. So that was kind of my first taste of fame, closing my business at this time. And then I moved to a place probably 5 minutes down the road in Woolwich, and grew the business from there. At one point we had about 8 members of staff. Took on products for non-record restaurant, Squid Games. Last year I did a product for Ferrari and Chivas Regal. And maybe 2 months ago I did a product for what they're called Jägermeister. So my kind of objective as a designer is not really to focus on the commercial side. I want to design uniforms for BA, for a major hotel chain. That's how I want my name, Emile Vidal Carr, to grow in the kind of business. So my career spanned, from the 22 years I've been in the industry, 18 years of those I run my business. So I'd say my career is a mixture of great failure, but also great success. So I'm probably one of the best people to ask advice for, in terms of not just how to make money in fashion, but really how to structure your businesses, whether it's, I think someone had a CIC, right? Cool. So I've had a CIC before. Also setting up the business for kind of long-term growth, hiring, designing a range for the right customer. So I guess I'd rather open the floor to questions, or I can go through some questions that have been sent across to me already. Which order would you prefer?
Questions have been sent to us already.
Okay, cool. Right, so what is my passion? From a creative standpoint, I love architecture and colour. I think so I was born in Sierra Leone. Now a lot of African designers, they will go straight towards using African textiles in their ranges. I've never done that. And not because I'm criticising any African designer that does. I think for me, it would be quite lazy to default into using African prints. When I started doing made-to-measure for clients, how many years ago, they would bring their cloth to me and I would do made-to-measure and so forth. But my brand aesthetic is, I guess, inspired by the colourful West African culture, but it never uses any prints. And I find that using a print for the styles I do is a cheat code, because it takes away the person's attention from the detail in the design. I tend to use mostly block colours, because then you just focus on silhouette. And a block colour is very unforgiving. So if there's any imperfections in the cut, you'll see it straight away. So that's kind of why I train myself from the design kind of side to focus on architecture and pop art. Next question, why do I do women's fashion? Primarily because I found menswear boring. I got offered an internship on Savile Row. I think I was about 19, and this was a guy called Maurice Sellers, who was the only black tailor at the time on Savile Row. And he offered me this internship, which would meant I would spend a year training as a master tailor, which most students would gravitate to. I think I was doing suits the rest of my life, and it's been really good. At the time, I was working at Afro Hair Salon, learning how to do hair and almost kind of teach myself a vision of how to create the look for my customer. So it wasn't just down to design up the garment, it was about learning the hair, learning the makeup, creating an identity for my customer. So doing menswear would just confuse things and would introduce kind of order to them. So nine times out of 10, the work I do is women's wear, but I can do men's wear. I just don't find it pushes me creatively. Next question.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, sure.
Which part of the business, because you do everything, so which part of the business do you find the most stimulating?
I think I find the sewing side stimulating. And I think that's a hindrance actually, because I've come across a number of successful entrepreneurs in fashion that have made more money than me, but they don't know how to use a sewing machine. And I think the sewing side is an issue to the growth, because when you make a garment, you become emotionally connected to it. You care about what someone thinks about it. You care about what buttons on it, how the stitching is. Someone who has never made a garment, there's no emotional connection to the product. They're just about how much profit margin is this making. So I have to equip myself with both of that business knowledge and balance that with the emotional side. And I think there's a conflict. And I think I probably would have been, and I guess never say never, but I could have been more successful earlier had I not had that interest in the sewing side. So my ideal is I'm in a studio on my own, my phone's off, and I'm just sewing all the way through the night. That's been me from the days of when I had a student accommodation in Tooting. So that's never left me. I think when I got the contract with ASOS, that was me being thrown in the deep end. And I was fortunate, I made a lot of mistakes in that period. Mistakes that I was graceful enough to bounce back from. But if I had a choice, it would just be the making the garment. That's where my kind of love and preference would be. Because without you, the designer, the maker, there's no PR person, there's no marketing person, there's no social media, there's no business person. In terms of the world that the designer is in.
So what's the most challenging?
What's the most challenging? What part of the business? I guess currently it's the hiring. There was 1 year, I think it was 2021, 22. I interviewed about 50 machinists, and that was on my own side, and I only hired about 2. The issue was, well, one of the issues was that when they arrive, it's for me. Taiwan in 2021 is 38. And most of my people are hired there 50s, 60s. So they've got 40 years experience sewing. So when they see me, they think, oh, what does he know about sewing? But they don't know that I've got 20 years solid work, working at Alexander McQueen, working on £70,000 dresses. So I know as much as they do. So there'll be a bit of a conflict where they kind of approach the work thinking, oh, Emile's not going to notice a mistake. But there's 3 things I give any person that works for me to do. I give them an invisible zip, I give them a French seam, and I give them a pinhead. So those 3 things, if they can't do it, then I can't even hire them on a trial. Because I know from the work I do and the work that my clients want, those are the telltale signs. Because you can do a pinhead and the dog feet scratches the fabric. And that would be on chiffon. So when we've encountered that kind of back and forth and they've realised, oh, no, that's not what's going on. But yet, you can't work for me because there's I think they're trying to be my mum, and I have a mum. I have a mother-in-law who's sitting in the back there. So I have those roles in my life. I don't need anybody else. Like, they're here to work for me because I'm the one that gets shouted at by the customer. And bear in mind, I've been sued like 10 times. So this is part of the business. Because I'm the one that gets it when things go wrong. And I say even sued that tried to sue me, so I haven't kind of gone any further than that because I'm very diligent about the business. Everything's tracked in terms of emails. So the thick skin is, I guess, the challenge. The thick skin and the business side, that's the challenge. Because there's an exhaustion that comes from trying to make money every month. Waking up not knowing how much you need to make, or you're going to make that day. So, next question.
Do you prefer brighter colours when you design clothes or muted?
Definitely brighter. I think there was a period when I probably still sort of know, I tend not to use black. And if I do use black, it would be because maybe my wife Charlie has kind of encouraged me to be more commercially kind of accepted. But even like what I'm wearing now, the base is black, but it's quite radical. So I like to stand out. I think as a designer, there's no point in me making something that is drab. So the more bold, the better. Any other questions?
Which social media platform do you think generates the most business for you?
It's a difficult question because I don't think any of them do. and that's what's quite disheartening. If it was just based on social media, for me, I would not make a single penny. I think that the one that's most effective is probably TikTok right now for me and most designers. And that's because the organic reach is wider than Instagram. Instagram, every day there's something different. It's quite frustrating to keep a track of how to navigate the algorithm. I think probably I'd like it to be TikTok because my target customer is professional women. They're easier to target on LinkedIn. But then I can't write a post that's on LinkedIn the same way I write a post on TikTok, the same way I write a post on Instagram. So the whole social media thing is another job in itself, on top of the job that you do have. Let alone if you've got kids. So it's, I find that for me, social media is just about helping me stay relevant. But I haven't quite cracked the code of how it will make me money, unfortunately. Because I'm not an influencer. I don't get brand sponsorships in that way. Because I know some people make a lot of money from it, but me, it's just never worked out. Okay, so next question. Okay, so can you share your journey and your challenges as a black male entering the area of fashion where we are least represented? All right, so this may be me speaking with blind. I think there's been one or two scenarios in my 23 years where I've sensed that me being a black person has affected any decision making that's affected some goodness in me. One scenario was Top Shop. Now this probably wasn't because I was black, because I think they read my name as Emile Vidal Carr. So when I walked in the meeting, they expected a white French name at the same time. And I did. And then the second time that I can remember was someone that I was hiring. They came for the interview. They walked in the office. They saw me and then walked out. So I don't know what her reason for it. It might be that she might like to work with men, something like that. It was just a sense that I got. But I intentionally don't. I program my mind not to let race be the issue, because there is always something why someone's not going to do business with you or whatever. Because I think the minute that I do, I become a bitter person. And I think that I've got enough kind of issues going on in my head to like let that, to notice that. And I think in fact it's actually works as a bonus, because there aren't that many. So my social media, the title used to be Straight Guy Design Women's. I had that for about 2 or 3 years. I only recently changed it because the title for the business now is to grow a brand. I'm trying to take myself away from the business. There's not many straight black guys in fashion. And that makes me unique in that sense. So I wouldn't say that it's ever been an issue. I do think that British Fashion Council, how do I put this? I find that BFC aren't as helpful as the world thinks. They are one of the least helpful organisations in fashion I've ever come across. And I've paid for their membership. So it reached a point where I wrote them a complaint letter, which was 2 pages long, after being with them for a year, because I felt that they weren't doing what they said that they would do. And I think after the George Floyd thing, there was I was called into a lot of meetings because I am black, and there was an appetite to do something for black people and black designers. But then give it 6 months later, I didn't hear from any of those people. So I felt a bit robbed and annoyed that my time had been wasted in those meetings for nothing to follow through. So I guess I think that experience made me know that it was right for me just not to make the race even kind of a factor in whether I progress in the industry or not, because I'll still be who I want to. Alright, so okay, so what separates brands that last from those that fade quickly? Alright, so I do consultancy. I probably sit down with the region of about 100 to 150 brands a year. I give them advice. So have you guys joined us? Cool, nice to meet you. What's your names? Bobby and Rexy. Cool, nice to meet you. Yeah, so of those, let's say 100 brands, 1% of them will last the next year. And I think with fashion in particular, because we're creatives, and I was speaking, I'm part of the problem. We have this thing where we're intense about the idea, but the execution is where the fire burns. And I find that sometimes the most arrogant people are the most successful ones because they're blind and confident in what they do. Whether it's good or bad, but those are the ones that will last long because they work every day telling themselves that they are the best. They are the reason that a customer needs a certain thing. And I think that's it. So the connection between what the person is designing and the customer that's out. So if, let's say, out of 100 people, you have 10 people that are target market for your product, then your price point should be pretty high. Does everyone understand why? Yeah? Does anyone understand? So no, because I can explain it. So if you've got a minority of the market that wants your product, the chances are you should be selling that product at a premium. Hence why you see dresses for £2,000 plus, because there's a very small sector of the market that can A, afford it and are interested. You may only sell 5, but those 5 units that you sell, they're not only going to be loyal customers, but they are they have deep pockets enough to buy from you again and understand the signal that the brand is sending out to the world. Hence why most high fashion brands use gold-looking models. You know, gold. Like they're almost dead. The makeup is drawn and dark lipstick. So that's a signal of high fashion to the rich. What the brand is. And I think to avoid the popularity of starting a brand and not seeing it through is first to keep the relationship as long as possible. Because most decisions are affected by money. You have one side of your life that has stability financially. Keep that for as long as possible. And then the money within the week you can take those returns to invest in the business. I've never had things and it's slightly lucky because I've always done something with fashion workers being classic cuts and being garment technologies, the sewing machines, in the design. I can get paid for that as a consultant. If what was I saying about the so if you have that stability of income, then you can provide longevity to your life. Any other questions? Gents, do you have any questions? I'm just doing the Q&A in terms of my experience in the fashion industry. Are there any questions that you'd like me to answer?
Not yet, no.
What was your favourite design or piece of clothing that you ever made?
So I generally prefer designing coats, anything tailored. So I think maybe the most recent range I've done are Mac coats, which the idea came from my wife, funnily enough, because for the past, I think maybe 3 years, that I've made her a coat for each birthday. Because I've struggled to know what to buy her. So I thought, okay, let me just make her something that I know she's quite fussy as well. I can't just give her anything. Her eyes will tell me what she likes. So fortunately, each one I made a picture for what she likes. So they said, oh, why don't we just make a collection of coats? And that was ideal because it allowed me to incorporate my love for vivid colours and my love for tailoring and womenswear and create. I think we've got 6 Mac coat designs. So in terms of where we are now, we're trying to pitch that to the likes of Zalando to sell it wholesale. So I think that was one of the most kind of my designs, the most enjoyable I've had recently. I also said I'll share the story of how we moved from our last studio to this one. So I was in a previous site for 14 years, and we moved to a really big space. Very quickly, we encountered a leaking issue with the property. So I said to the landlord, we've got this leak. Should I let the parcel? Yeah, so I said to the landlord, we've got a leak. And they were great people, but they didn't respond quick enough to the issue. Because even the last event I had, we had a leak that very day whilst people were in the studio. And then the leak kept on happening. And I came one morning, there was a puddle on the floor. We had water in our machines. Client fabric was damp. So I had to claim for my insurers. Eventually they refused to cover me, even though I ticked for the boxes. So after back and forth, they fully refunded me 2 years of insurance, but then they said, we're not going to insure you anymore at this property because there's a history of leaks, which my landlord had covered me in terms of how they communicated with my insurers. So I just couldn't stay there. So after about 14 years, we had to close the door. And I think I realised, 3 months before we left, I sat in there and I started crying because I thought, oh wow, what's going to happen now? Like, since I was 22 years old, I've always had an office. This one I had 14 years, so I didn't really know anything else. That office marked the kind of relationship I had with my wife, so it's kind of like a weird way of divorce. So at that point I knew that the kind of end was coming. I had to give notice on the office. And then even when we closed the doors on it, and we were driving out, my wife started crying. Because she'd always known me in the office. And I put everything in storage. And I went to Germany for a few days to do a presentation to Zalando. And I think that was the most happiest I've been not having a place of business. That 9 months I've been at the office. Because there wasn't the stress of checking on stuff. I spent time doing teaching. I was teaching in primary school, sewing. And even though it was the most fun I've had, I knew that I eventually had to go back into the ultimate goal of growing the business. So getting this place was quite scary. But I knew that I had to be comfortable with failing. Because even if this place fails, I'm okay with this. So I knew I couldn't get another studio if I wasn't hung up on what other people would think if it failed. So yeah, that was literally the journey of my past 2 years. So and we've got some more stuff in storage, some more machinery, but it got to say where I was going home not being happy, and it was affecting the dynamics with my kids and the dynamics with my wife. And I think when we shut the doors, there was a transformation in kind of how happy I was. And part of me was concerned with what people would think, but what really mattered was how I was at home. Yeah. So I'm not sure how much of that comes across on social media. I think it's best for me to communicate that now, because my issue with social media is that everyone shows the kind of good side, and we all know life just isn't like that. So, I'll do a few more questions unless anyone has anything. So how do you balance, creativity, commercial success. What? Okay, fine. I'll just attempt it again. With as much as I didn't like university, one of the most valuable things I got was being school, the range and pyramid. So that's basically structure your range of your business with a section that's conceptual. So it's very avant-garde, and as a designer, that's where you can get the most enjoyment. So it might be designing just some coat hangers or other things. So no one may buy it as a creative kind of need that it addresses that kind of need you have to create something valuable. Then the next part of the range is something signature. So for me, that's like my coats and my hoodies. They will have a detail in there that someone will identify as my design. I'm not talking about logos, it's just about, as a Louis Vuitton's got the red soul. I've always got an orange line in all of my pieces. And then the rest of it is basic. So you've got your conceptual, your signature, and your basic. And that basic stuff might be, for a lot of brands, I think it's t-shirts and accessories. It's that entry-level product that keeps the lights on, and that allows the signature and the concept to kind of flourish. For me, my basic element is consultancy. No matter what stage I'm in, I know someone will always pay me for advice. Whether it's lecturing, whether it's doing one-to-ones, whether it's doing conversations. So I think that the balance between the creative and the business is finding what area of what design you're doing, what's going to sit in each of those pockets. Has anybody heard of that kind of structure?
I've not heard of the concept, but it makes sense.
Yeah, because it's like that's why you've got D&G, you've got Shabbat. It's very commonly used, and I think it will help you be more sane as a designer as well. It's certainly helped me. 2 more questions. Okay, so can fashion ever be truly sustainable? See, I think that sustainability in fashion is a bit of a con, because my mother was saving plastic bags from Brixton from 20 years ago. So for you to now tell me okay, so you see like West African, genuine West African styles, there's very little wastage or no wastage in fabric. Because if it's Ghanaian, you've got the wrap. If it's, so it only got actually, we're using all of the fabric. It's the Western style that there's wastage. So they're kind of preaching to the converted. So I take issue with the native feel bag, that I already come from a culture that didn't waste stuff. But now I've been told that, or how to save kind of fabric. Well, true sustainability means that you don't buy anything anymore. That's what it really is. But that wouldn't, the economy wouldn't last in a way. And I think, going back to British Fashion Council, I think it's a con in that respect, because they will jump from sport black designers, the sustainability, to this, to that, because it suits them from a financial point of view. So I think that the sustainability angle genuinely for me is making in the UK. I think it's supporting not charity in the sense of monetary, but part of your time is going towards helping a certain cause. I think it's buying from the UK as well. I think all of those things to me are true sustainability, as opposed to what the more powerful kind of companies in the fashion sector are encouraging you what sustainability is. I'm not sure if anyone disagrees with anything else said, or has a different kind of take on it.
No, I totally agree. I think sustainability is definitely buying local, pushing local talent. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Maintaining local skills. That is part of sustainability. So, you know, that's an important part of sustainability. It's not just about throwing away fabric. You know?
Yeah. Does anyone have a fashion brand? No. But you had weddings. Is it Fifi? Fifi? Do you know the weddings? Oh, okay, right. But did you answer the question about? Did you say a question about the control wedding?
That's
Okay.
great.
Was that you? Okay, right. So, from your perspective, how well does the control wedding industry support emerging designers? Actually, just ask a question.
I've got some great
Yeah, sure.
Feel free to speak about anything else you need.
Okay. Okay.
So, from your perspective, how well does the couture wedding industry support emerging designers with disabilities, be it ADHD, diabetes, or other, in gaining work experience?
So, the best wedding dress designer I know is Alanuka. Alanuka, our Benny, I know Benny. I think she's in Greenwich now. So, Benny sells dresses for like $20,000.
She's amazing.
And the funny thing is with Benny and I'll give you context and I'll answer your question. My first introduction with Benny is that we had an argument at a fashion show. And this was the fault of the organisers. And I remember her just handling it with such kind of class, but it was, if you've ever done a fashion show, backstage is chaos. You can't be held accountable for you say something else. And we had a bit of a kind of back and forth, and it was going very quickly. And then years later, we had obviously the same deal. And I really admire how Debbie is growing her business. She has got other kids, so she just very like something shadow kind of building the business. She was probably the best person that if I want to get to the wedding control industry. As a black designer, I would approach. Because she's a nice person. My personality is, unless I know you, I've been told I'm quite brash. It's not that I'm rude, most times I'm tired. I've got 101 things. I have to time my day to go and pick up the kids. So it's like it's pleasant as I kind of wish it's working well. But I would always give you time if you ask me a question. I think as far as the whole kind of disability, I'm not sure if there is a specific kind of schemes for that. There might be kind of charities, organisations you can apply for funding through. I'm pretty sure London College of Fashion had like a database of charities you can apply for, or maybe EVC. I think when it comes to an individual business, let's say like Alanuka, I'm not sure if that would be relevant to them. They're just going to see that you're committed to the work, and then it would help you kind of grow. And I think there's fashion as well. We're not a very forgiving industry. and I had some meetings in the suite, and they were asking me why interns generally get treated badly in fashion businesses. And I don't think it's just fashion. I think when you take an intern on, especially if you're the owner, you have to take time to teach them the ways of business, which, if you're like me, you've got limited time as it is. So you have to, if you're paying someone to do a job and then train them, then you're at losses immediately. So you have to either find someone that can learn very quickly, and I mean by lunchtime, if there's something like that, or pay someone that's better than you that can do the job quicker and faster. So that's the only two options kind of we have. So it's unfair to those with a disability or interns or whatever. What I did, which made a huge difference for me, I spent about 2 years working for a lot of companies. I started off with an Afro hairdressing salon in Bala. I worked for them for a year, not getting paid. And I had, to this day, a guy that owns that client. There was a couple of businesses in sales and marketing. There was Heard Voice, I don't know where they are now, but I did work with them. They didn't pay me, but when I did my first fashion show, I had the details of the same editor that wrote my very first article. So it's not about us having a vision, but finding different areas to make connections in, and if you can afford to do that work for free, then do that for a certain amount of time, and commit, over-commit. Show them that you're worthy of being in that space, because it's not a black thing, it's not a disabled thing, it's not a woman thing. There is, for every space that there is, when you leave, there's another 100 people that will take the space. So that's just the way that you kind of need to think about it. And if you decide that it's not for you, get out of there quickly. Because the more that you're in a space that being appreciated, or you feel you're not getting anything from it, you're wasting your time and you're allowing kind of a bad vibe to creep into and your spirit. Yeah. So I hope I answered your question. Round up. Cool. All right, any other final questions? I hope that was useful. Yeah.
There was a man back there who owns his business when you asked him.
Oh, cool. So tell me about it.
It's actually a streetwear brand.
Okay.
Finesse Republic, that's the brand.
Okay, so come to the front side.
Okay.
My hearing is great.
So it's a streetwear brand. Finesse Republic, that's the brand.
Okay.
So I tend to incorporate African stuff into my brand, into my fits. I use like Antilles, Mara, to just make this
Is what you're wearing one of the
no,
pieces? Okay. What's
that's
yeah, sure.
Just the logo, the hat, so just logo.
Okay, that's your logo, right? Do you have a trademark?
Yeah. So that's right.
What's been your biggest challenge?
Sourcing for fabrics, actually.
What?
So sourcing for fabrics, and now the sustainability, sometimes they have to the UK now, they've started, they're hammering more on the sustainability, there's some products you have to use, sometimes to, you can't use, there's some products that are harmful to the skin.
Yeah.
And before we used to use those products back then.
Okay.
But now, so we can use it, it's not good for the skin.
Right.
Stuff like that. It's actually a big challenge. Because sometimes those fabrics are really, really nice, but because they're actually harmful to the skin,
Yeah.
and so you can use it, so just tend to.
Are these using my African fur?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So is that something in the dye?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Right.
So they say it's like so sometimes when they see, they say no, we can't use it. It's not good for the skin. So that's actually a big challenge.
Right. I see. So your fabrics are they? Is it wax? Is it almond wax? Is it kente?
Most times, it's usually this adire, like cotton, tied and dyed.
Okay.
Yeah, that's actually. It's made from Puffa, Ogun State, Nigeria.
Oh, cool. Okay. Is that really fun?
Yeah, I'm from Nigeria.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, good luck with your journey.
Yeah.
Because do you have any questions?
Not yet.
Okay. Because bear in mind, I charge a lot for a one-to-one. So now's the time to ask advice. Yeah, cool. All right, thank you for listening. In about 10 minutes, we'll go down we'll start some fashion games and kind of win some of my pieces. And then feel free to kind of share it with anything you want. But all the food needs to go, so don't be shy. Thank you.